Hello, friends, and welcome back to yet another Fridays with Mrs. Ginny, and I am your host, Mrs. Ginny. Friends, if you were here on Wednesday, then you know that I said I did not know what I wanted to talk about, but thankfully I figured it out. And, so much good content from the Bible. There's so much low-hanging fruit when it comes to things to talk about from the Bible. Not everything you have to go down deep and stay down long. Some of the things are just right there, just jumping off the page at you that are good things to talk about. And that's what I need right now because my weeks have been so busy and hectic that I don't have the time to really do my deep dive streams like how I did at the beginning of the year with my what year are we really in? That stream took me a while to compile. I really had to do some studying and like calculating and whatnot. And I like doing those because I feel like I'm really, giving you guys a good treat when I do those. But as you can imagine, if you've been around here for any amount of time lately, then you know that my energy levels and my focus are at an all-time low. Okay. And so right now I just need things that are simple. And this is very simple. Okay, friend. The Bible is here for our benefit. Okay. This is the difference between being a theist and just a deist. A deist believes that there is a higher power, but that it's impersonal and that it just kind of set the universe in motion and just has a step back and, is hands off. While us theists, I hope you're a theist if you're over here, we believe that the creator and the sustainer is personal and is involved in our day-to-day lives and cares about us and, is looking to bless or damn us, depending on how we act. And so, friends, when it comes to the laws of the Bible, they are here for our benefit. Okay. And I just picked out 7 examples. Okay. There are 613 laws in the Old Testament. Okay. What makes up the laws of God or the law, that is summarized up in 613. Well, that's exhaustively 613 laws. And when I was doing this study, it just cracked me up because you just hear so many people say these nonsensical phrases that they just parrot after, after they've heard from someone else say. And it's like, oh, I can't be a Christian. Being a Christian is too restrictive. I want to be free. Christianity is limiting my freedom. I can't use my free will. Yeah. God's 613 laws are far too restrictive. You need to be in America, the home of the free, with over 30,000 laws, and that's just federal. Okay, that is not even including state and city laws. Okay, and so I'm so sorry that the Bible's laws are too restrictive for you, and that you can't have sex with your cousins. All right. Anyways, that's besides the point. But we're going to jump into these 7 right here, and we are going to talk about, not do something super duper crazy tonight, but just give some good reinforcement to some things that I hope that you already know of. But if not, then, this will be a good teaching moment for you. And so our 7 points for this evening are: no drinking, no fornicating, no borrowing, so that means debt, like don't get into debt, to wash your hands, to homeschool, to, give unto your neighbor, and to rest, okay? And so I thought that these were such a good universal 7 things that we could all use a refresher on at the very least, even, if we already know these things. So strap in, friends. We have a very informative evening for you. I'm going to give you guys a verse, that talks about these things, why, what the Bible says about it. And then I'm going to give you what the world says about it, because the Bible is not enough for a lot of people. Just because the Bible says something oftentimes does not shake people and, get them motivated, sadly. They want to hear what the world has to say about things. But with these 7 things specifically, I could have done more of these things. But with these 7 things specifically, the world, even they know that these things are good. Okay. And so, because truth is absolute, truth is universal. I remember when I was in Amway, we would have these weekly meetings, to encourage us and teach us, success principles. And they would tell us that, we hope that you continue to be an IBO. We hope that you continue with your Amway business. But even if you don't, the things that we're teaching you are universal success principles that you can use and adapt to whatever endeavor you partake in. And they were absolutely right. And so these principles, these laws, values of God, commandments, they are universally true and good and should be observed by everyone, regardless if you're a Christian or not. Okay. And so we're going to jump right into these. And I'm so glad to have all of you here. Of course, we have Beak, our most loyal Jeanette, always here, very consistent. Thank you so much, Beak. And Jason was missing you last week. Didn't see you. So I hope you're doing well. Hope you're not feeling ill. We got Milani and we have Lead. And so thank you guys for being here and being in the chat. Of course, people who are chatting in the chat, then that helps the stream out. And so always appreciate seeing you guys. Okay. And so jumping off our list, we have number 1, which is to not drink. Okay. A lot of people, they don't know this. They think that, drinking is perfectly prohibited, by the Bible. I don't care what the Catholics tell you. Okay. Drinking alcohol in any amount is prohibited by the Bible. Okay. And I want to put a little asterisk next to, my phrase of any amount. Okay. Because, I just think that it's important that people are realistic. And so I know that some people are even, very touchy about like things like kombucha or making their own extracts, or what's the other one? I can't think of it now, but there's another one that has like trace or cooking wine. That's what it is. Cooking with alcohol. And so those things, I feel like those are okay. That's the Mrs. Ginny stance on the subject. If you feel convicted about those things, then that's perfectly justifiable. And you're entitled to that. And you follow where you feel led. But when it comes to like kombucha, like Jason says, fermented drinks, yeah, fermented drinks, they have trace amounts of alcohol in them due to the fermentation process. And alcohol is a natural byproduct of when things start to decay. And that's what That's what fermentation is. It's controlled decay. Okay, whether that be with sugar or salt or what have you. And so there are trace amounts of alcohol in it. And then it comes to making your own extracts like vanilla extract, orange extract, lemon extract, what have you. You soak those things in alcohol for like months on end, and then you have an extract that you can use in your baked goods and what have you. But that requires alcohol. Okay, I've heard you can make it with like vegetable glycerin or something. Don't quote me on that, because like Muslims, they don't drink as well. And so I know some of them have found different ways to make it, but the most popular way is to just use like vodka or rum to make your extracts, and then cooking with alcohol, using wine to deglaze your pan or what have you. You know, when you cook with it, alcohol is it's very reactive. And so when the temperature is above like 160 degrees, it's going to burn off. And so you're not even getting the alcohol. You're just getting the flavor that's left behind, and that's why people cook with it. So those three things, I think those are fine. I don't see anything wrong with that. You're never going to get drunk off of beer batter, fish. Okay. Sorry to break it to you. Now you might get drunk off of rum cake. I've heard of that happening, because they actually put rum in the cake after it's been baked. So that way there's like rum in it after it's already been heated, so it doesn't die. So be careful of that. But and most of the cooking applications of alcohol, you're not actually getting any of it, and it won't have any effect on you. Even children can drink it. You don't have to show your ID to get kombucha or sauerkraut. So I just wanted to put that out there in case anyone was wondering, because I used to wonder about that. Like, is it okay to even use cooking wine or whatever? And so I just wanted to put that out there in case anyone was wondering, like I used to. But anyways, we're talking about, moving away from that. We're talking about actually drinking alcohol, drinking wine, drinking beer, hard seltzer, God forbid, like liquor, and vodka, rum, all that stuff. All of that is extremely and explicitly prohibited in the Bible in multiple places. But here I just have one verse for you to use, which is 1 Peter 5:8, which says, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about." Hold on. Did I copy this wrong? It says, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour." Okay. And so the devil, he is on the prowl. He wants to catch you slipping. He wants to get his foot in the door some way, somehow in the life of a Christian. And so don't give him the foothold. Don't give him the opportunity to take advantage of you by drinking alcohol. Okay. Because even the world will tell you that after one drink, you are no longer sober. Okay. And the Bible doesn't just say to, avoid alcohol and to avoid mixed wines. It says to be sober. Okay. And you are not sober anymore after you've had even just one beer or one glass of wine. Even the world will tell you that you're not technically sober anymore. And so as God's people, we should be ashamed if we are partaking in alcohol, in spirits. The only spirit that should be indwelling in a Christian is the Holy Spirit. Okay. And so, that's the biblical side of it. But what does the world have to say about this? Okay. And so this woman, this article was written by what looks to be a Muslim. So, maybe take that with a grain of salt. But, she's an MD. And so this is coming from a more secular perspective. I don't think she's really putting her Muslim bend on the topic. These are just kind of objective principles or benefits and what is the word I'm looking for? I guess pros of avoiding alcohol, if you will. And so her first one, there's 12 of these. Her first one is that you might dodge accidents. Alcohol plays a role in at least half of all serious trauma injuries and deaths from burns, drownings, and homicides. It's also involved in 4 out of 10 fatal falls and traffic crashes, as well as suicides. You don't have to go completely dry to be safer. You don't have to go completely dry to be safer. Even cutting back your drinking by a third can lower the number of injuries and sick days. So yeah, the first one right out of the gate is to, on the road, and I've heard that, it's actually maybe even more than half of accidents or serious accidents are caused by alcohol, or alcohol is involved in some way. Maybe that one was alcohol and drugs. So maybe, once you add in drugs like marijuana and opioids, then that makes it over half. But yeah, and so, friend, my husband, I have a strict rule about not bad mouthing my husband in public. But what I will say is that he really enjoys taking liberties on the road. Okay. He is not one who is scared of the road. He is not one to be super duper cautious. He gets out there and he thinks that he owns, the asphalt. And I always tell him, well, actually, he's been doing a lot better. So I have to give him that. But what I used to tell him is that you are not the only one on the road. You might have excellent handling, precision, turning skills, and all that stuff. And of course you do, baby. You're the best driver on the road. However, you are not the only driver on the road. And there are a lot of people out here who are crazy. And if not they're crazy, then they're just drunk. And they're out here, and you might make a tight maneuver thinking that, you're fine, but then someone reacts or doesn't react how you expect them to or how they're supposed to, and now you're in a 4-car pileup, and look at you. So yes, friends, it is just good and wise practice to stay sober, not just because the Bible told you to, in case that wasn't good enough, but because you'll be saving on your insurance costs because you won't be getting in as many accidents. Okay. Hello, Kat. Good to have you. I think this is our pain. I believe so. But marriage and politics and sports says, what about changing water to wine? So I don't really have the time to fully break this down, but I will just say that was actually juice. Okay. So the reason why it's referred to as wine in the King James Bible is because 400 years ago, when the King James Bible was written, that the word juice was either, I don't know, I don't remember if it wasn't invented yet or if it just wasn't used the way that we use the word. Like it wasn't popularized. And so what Jesus turned water into was not fermented alcohol. It was new wine. It was grape juice or whatever type of juice it was. And so, yes, that is a very common misconception. And I know I did a whole stream about why we shouldn't drink alcohol, but that was actually over on Chaotic's channel. So I would have to get that somehow and maybe repost it over here. I don't think I simulcasted it over here. But yes, so very good question. But yeah, Jesus, he never drank alcohol because drinking alcohol is a sin. And then Jason, he says, defensive driving as others are the cause of most accidents. Yeah. Oh, and then Jason, he says, really? Wow. I didn't know. It always didn't sit well with me, that part. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It is our pain. All right. I thought that was you. But yes, a lot of people will say that, that's every drunk's favorite Bible verse. Not calling you a drunk, our pain, by any means. I'm just saying that in general. That's every drunk's favorite Bible verse. Oh, well, Jesus turned water into wine as they throw back another shot of tequila. But no, it was not alcoholic. It was unfermented. So there's that. And then we have our good brother Lionel over here. Good to have you, Lionel. Thank you for showing up. And Pseudo, our resident Catholic, always on time, he says, I don't drink ever. However, the idea that casual drinking is a sin is insane. Jesus encouraged others to drink. Drunkenness was, however, a sin. Wrong. Okay. But anyways, we're going to get back to our list. And so that was just number one. Okay. So stop drinking because you'll get into less accidents. Number two is your heart will get healthier. Oh, hold on. It says you might think that a regular glass of red wine or other alcoholic beverages might be good for your heart, but that may not be true, or true only for light sippers, less than one drink a day. If you use more than that, Cutting back or quitting may lower your blood pressure, levels of fat called triglycerides, and chances of heart failure. Okay, so I'm not gonna, take a whole bunch of time on each one of these because we have, like I said, 7 points to get to. However, I will say that I have heard this myth, and that's what it is, that drinking a glass of red wine at night is good for your heart, or it has antioxidants in it, so it's good for you, whatever. What that is you know it's the antioxidants that comes from the grapes or the cherries or what have you, and you can get all the same health benefits from drinking a glass of red wine as you can from drinking tart cherry juice, okay, without the negatives of the alcohol, because alcohol is literally poison, okay. The feeling of being drunk is your body trying to counteract the fact that it's being poisoned, okay. It's trying to overcompensate, so it's taking blood from your brain and sending it to your liver and sending it to your stomach to try to combat the fact that toxins are being filled into your body. And that's why you feel the feeling of being drunk. Okay. Just like I was on Instagram and I saw this post and it was like, we need to stop demonizing Botox. And I was like, what do you think the tox in Botox stands for? It's botulism, not botulinum, botulinum. I think that's how you say it, botulinum toxin. Okay, so Botox is toxic for you. You should not be injecting that stuff, let alone into your face. Okay, that's a whole nother point. But anyways, alcohol is literally poisonous. It's literally decayed, rotting food. Um, and so yes, friend, drinking a glass of tart cherry juice will do actually your body and your heart good, but drinking a glass of red wine will not. Okay, so let's move right along. It says your liver may heal. Your liver's job is to filter toxins, and alcohol is toxic to your cells. Okay. Heavy drinking, at least 15 drinks for men and 8 or more for women a week, can take a toll on the organ and lead to fatty liver, cirrhosis, and other problems. The good news, your liver can repair itself and even regenerate. So it's always worth drinking less or quitting. Yes, friend. If you have a history in your family of, poor liver or cirrhosis, or, if a family member died from, a liver related disease or from alcoholism, then you would do very well. And it would be very wise of you to be very mindful about your alcohol intake. Of course, the best level of intake is 0. That would be the healthiest for your body, especially women, like it says here, 15 glasses for men and 8 glasses for women. Drinking alcohol is extremely dangerous for women. And I remember when the CDC, I think it was, or maybe the FDA came out and it said that it's really best for women to not drink any alcohol at all because of how high the promiscuity rates are. And a lot of women are just going out here spreading their legs for anybody, and they're falling pregnant and they don't know, and they're drinking and they're damaging their baby before they even realize that they're pregnant. And so that's why the health organization, whatever, which one it was, advised that it's probably best for women to just not drink at all. Okay. Especially, I guess if you're a whore, then yeah. But if you're not, then you're not in danger of that. But you shouldn't be drinking anyway. Okay. You shouldn't be whoring around and you shouldn't be drinking, let alone doing both. All right. Anyways, moving on to point 4. It says you might drop pounds. Okay. A glass of regular beer has about 150 calories, and a serving of wine has about 120. On top of those mostly empty calories, alcohol ramps up your appetite. It also makes you more impulsive and less able to resist the fries and other temptations on the menu. So when you stay away from alcohol, the number on your scale may start moving down. Yes. And not even the fact that it like increases your appetite, or it's empty calories. Don't people always tell you, like if you're trying to drink wisely or drink responsibly, don't they always tell you to eat before you drink or eat as you're drinking? And it's like if you're already, because the alcohol is making you it's taking your guard down, it's lowering your inhibitions, then when you're trying to be wise and responsible as you drink, which is an oxymoron, then you're gonna eat more, because you're thinking like, oh, I'm doing my body good. I'm sopping up the alcohol. I'm not, it's not going straight into my bloodstream quite as quickly. And, this is going to help me so I can still drive later on. But what you intended on was eating, a plate of spaghetti, but then you ate a plate of spaghetti and 4 breadsticks. And now look at you. so, so yeah, another good reason to stay away from it. Number 5 says, that in your relationships may improve. Enjoying alcohol socially in reasonable amounts can boost your mood and help you bond with others. But if you drink alone or down multiple drinks a day, it could turn into an unhealthy habit. If you can't control it, it may lead to a condition called alcohol use disorder. Giving up drinking may let you focus on your relationships, work, and health. It also may ease any depression and anxiety and elevate your self esteem. Okay. Um, so I guess this one is pretty subjective because if you and all your friends drink and you stop drinking, then you might lose relationships. If you were, in the Cheers universe and every day after work you would go to the Cheers bar and you stop drinking, then you would probably lose a bunch of friends. So this one is a bit more subjective. But hey, you'll lose those loser friends and you'll gain some better friends, friends who are sober. Okay. We have a new viewer who apparently really likes talking about the spiritual aspect of things. No, I don't believe that a spirit-filled believer can be possessed with a demon. Thank you for asking. But anyways, moving on to number 6, says here that it can lower cancer risks. It's clear that alcohol and heavy drinking in particular can up your chances of several types of cancer, including in your esophagus, your food pipe, mouth, throat, and breast. What's less clear is if quitting alcohol lowers your chances of cancer, and if so, how long it might take. Some studies suggest potential benefits, but scientists don't know for sure. Now, I don't know why they would make this so unclear. I don't know why they would act like this is like really difficult to find out. Of course, drinking would be beneficial for cancer prevention because cancer is when your body is out of whack alkalinity wise. So you have too much acidity in your body, and that's how cancer can develop and spread. And alcohol is acidic. And so if you're constantly pouring acid into your body, of course, your body is going to be in a more acidic state, and therefore you are much more likely to get cancer. So I don't understand why they're acting like this is, hard. I mean, that's a very basic understanding of cancer and alcohol. So, I mean, I'm sure there's more that goes into it, but at the most fundamental level, you get cancer because your body is too acidic and alcohol is acidic. So I don't know. Of course, not drinking alcohol would encourage your chances of not getting cancer. But anyways, there's that one. And then it says here that your intimacy life might improve. A bit of alcohol may make couples friskier, but anything more than a drink or so a day has the opposite effect, especially if you abuse or are addicted to alcohol. Men might have trouble getting and keeping an erection, and women's intimacy drive might drop, and their vagina might get drier. Cut down on the booze and see if it stirs up the romance. Okay. So this one was news to me. I knew I had heard that drinking alcohol can make a man impotent, but I didn't know this about the effect that it has on the women. So I thought that was very interesting. And so it's not all on the men, ladies. Okay, we need to be very mindful of drinking alcohol. It just seems like there's literally no upside for women drinking alcohol. I don't know how women got so on board with drinking alcohol and thinking that it's so demure and so classy to drink wine, when it's all bad for us. It affects every part of our body, our breasts, our reproductive system, our mouth, we can get mouth cancer, esophageal cancer, you can get cirrhosis. I mean, good night. It's just all bad. But anyways, number 8 says you'll sleep better. Okay, so that touches on our last point, which is rest. And it says here that alcohol might get you drowsy at first, but once you fall into slumber, it can wake you up repeatedly in the night. Plus, it disrupts your important REM stage, which is rapid eye movement stage of sleep, and may interfere with your breathing. You also may need to get up more often to pee. Try skipping alcohol, especially in the late afternoon and evenings, for more restful shut eye. Okay. And pretty much everybody could do with more conducive sleep habits. Okay. So if you need better sleep and you drink, then just go ahead and cut that out and see how that better serves you. Okay. Number 9 is you'll get sick less. Even just one bout of drinking too much may weaken your body's germ fighting power for up to 24 hours. Over time, large amounts of alcohol blunt your immune system and your body's ability to repair itself. Ease up on drinking so you may better ward off illnesses. Okay, so that goes hand in hand with what they were saying earlier about your liver. Okay, because your liver is the filter of your body. And so if your liver is constantly under a lot of stress and working overtime always to try to clean out all that junk that you're dumping into it every Friday night or every night, God forbid, then it's not going to be able to fight off other stuff, that you need to fight off, which could be, the flu or Rona or what have you. Lower your blood pressure. If you drink a lot and your blood pressure is too high, you might be you might be able to bring your numbers back down to normal by doing one simple thing, giving up alcohol. Even simply easing back on drinks can give a big payoff. Talk to your doctor about your numbers. Normal blood pressure is between 120 and 80. You have high blood pressure if yours is above 130 over 80. So there's that. Let's see here. Clear your brain. Alcohol dependency can make it harder to think or remember things. Over time, heavy drinking can cloud your perception of distances and volumes, or slow and impair your motor skills. It can even make it harder for you to read other people's emotions. But if you quit, your brain seems to be able to regain some of these abilities. And that's the beauty of God's creation. He is so merciful and so gracious towards us that a lot of us, we're not getting this good teaching. A lot of us, we're not growing up in these really staunch anti-alcohol environments. And so when we're young, we're drinking, even if it's not all the time or if it's not to any really regular level. Most of us here have consumed alcohol, and I for one am not excluded from that. When I was single, I would go out to karaoke on Tuesday nights and I would drink with my friends. And, but God is so merciful that, he looks down on us poor, ignorant fools, and he gives us the ability to, regain some of what we might have lost, from our liver damage and our brain damage. And, he makes these organs so that they can, regenerate and, get back up to speed after we, dilute it and mess with it. So, what a mighty God we have. And lastly, we have withdrawal. Okay. If you're a heavy drinker, your body may rebel at first if you cut off all alcohol. You could break out in cold sweats or have a racing pulse, nausea, vomiting, shaky hands, and intense anxiety. Some people even have seizures or see things that aren't there, hallucinations. Your doctor or substance abuse therapist can offer guidance and may prescribe medication like benzoy benzodiazepines or carbamazepine. Carbamazepine to help you get through it. Okay. And so, that is just your body, overcoming what you've done to it over the years. Okay. So those are the 12 benefits of cutting out alcohol from your life, like the Bible told you to be sober. Okay. And so our next one is fornicating. Okay. And so here we have an article. Hold on, let me pull this up and get this big for you. Let's see here. Okay. And so, yes, our next one is no fornicating, to which the Bible says in 1 Corinthians 6:18, flee fornication. And flee means to get away from. So flee fornication. Every sin that a man doth is without the body, but he that committeth adultery, fornication, excuse me, but he that committeth fornication sinneth against his own body. Okay, so you think that, you're doing something, good for yourself because, you finally lost your virginity or whatever. But not only are you sinning, but you're sinning against your own body. You're sinning against yourself. So that makes it, one of the worst kinds of sins to do. And so, um, the Bible is very clear, almost just as clear, if not clearer, about how it doesn't want us having relations before marriage, the marriage building exercise before marriage, as it is about not wanting us to drink alcohol. And so here is an article that I pulled up. Who is this from? BYU. Okay. And so the beginning of this is like just talking about how we live in a society that is like really, it talks about it all the time, shacking up and whatnot. But in reality, that's not really what you want to do, especially if you want to have a good, healthy relationship. And so here we go. It says, mm, it says here, Americans commonly believe that couples who engage in premarital intimacy or live together before marriage are more likely to create a successful marriage. In fact, studies show that both those who have intimate experiences before marriage and those who cohabitate are more likely to divorce. Cohabitation, in particular, is linked to lower marital commitment and higher divorce rate. Researchers have found no benefits of cohabitation. Some speculate that cohabitation has harmful effects because it teaches a couple they have the benefits of marriage without full commitment, of course, which in turn fosters a type of independence that is not compatible with a healthy marriage. When the couple marries, it is difficult to unlearn this independence and create a healthy interdependent bond. Yes, exactly. This is why people say that marriage is just a piece of paper. If you're doing everything that married people do, having the marriage building exercise, sharing your bills, sharing your home, having kids, then of course marriage is going to seem like just a piece of paper to you. But when you actually get married, because like it's so interesting, and this is something that I've heard, from secular sources and of course religious sources, but it really rocks a lot of people's world when they get married and they're like, we've been living together for like 5, 6 years, and it still was different. Like something changed when we got like legally married, and I don't know what it is, um that is that a lot of people have reported that, saying that even though you live together and have kids and share a bank account, when you get legally married, it just hits different. And so and the relationship can really take a toll, from that. But here it goes on to say that positive effects of chastity before marriage. Researchers have found that chastity before marriage offers many benefits, including a decreased chance of psychological damage from expressing intimacy without commitment, freedom from intimacy transmitted diseases, and unwanted pregnancies, and an increase in marital stability and satisfaction. And it's so funny. My husband and I, we often talk about how happy we are that we're having a baby, and how thankful we are for each other and the roles that we play for each other. My husband, he just got a second job, and I, have been trying to step up my housewife, duties, being that he has stepped up as the provider. And so, we're just always thanking each other. We're like, we're such a good team and we work so well together. And I just don't know what I would do without you. And, we're saying these things to each other. And, and I just feel so bad. And both of us, because even my husband has mentioned it. He's like, I don't know how these women do it, without a man. They have these babies and they're pregnant. I mean, just even being pregnant, the baby's not even fully here yet. And being pregnant by yourself it would just ruin me. I mean, I would have nothing because I wouldn't have been able to work for the whole first trimester. And then, what if you go into labor early, in your third trimester? And it's just so unfortunate. And so, of course, that can do, having an unwanted or unplanned pregnancy can really do damage on your relationship because it can be very stressful, to organize everything that you need in order to have a baby. And so, yeah, people think that, oh, well, we don't need to get married. Everything's going to be fine. So fast. Okay, this one is psychological dimensions of intimacy bonding. The basic human need for touch and physical affection is real, but even more important is the basic human need for a loving connection with others. Many people confuse their need for intimacy expression with their need for love. If they attempt to connect with another person primarily through the marriage building exercise, chances are high the relationship will eventually deteriorate and leave psychological damage in its wake. Jess Lair, a psychologist at Montana State University, explains that intimacy experiences can be psychologically significant for individuals. Intimacy bonding includes powerful emotion, psychological, physical, and spiritual links that are so strong that the two people become one. The two becoming one? That before. Oh my goodness. At least for a moment. Intimacy is an intense, though brief, physical bonding that leaves indelible marks on the participants. To believe one can walk away from an intimate experience untouched is dangerously naive. Okay. And it's coming out more and more that hookup culture has just wreaked so much havoc on the minds of young people. And primarily women, because women are a bit more emotional when it comes to that, but they're not the only ones who are emotional. Don't let fresh and fit brainwash you. Okay, men do feel things when they engage in the marriage building exercise. Okay, they do get a spiritual, an emotional bond to that partner. Okay, and if you don't, whether you're a man or a woman, there's something wrong with you. Okay. But anyways, and so going on, it says that recent research may have discovered the psychological basis for this deep bonding, a hormone called oxytocin. This hormone is released in both men and women during orgasm. It promotes an attachment between the two individuals that is likely to grow with each experience, with each exchange. Since most unmarried couples will break up, it is psychologically unsafe for them to engage in this activity. Perhaps this is one reason God has benevolently commanded that the sacred powers of procreation are to be employed only between man and woman lawfully wedded as husband and wife. Okay. And then it goes into STDs and it says, according to the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, approximately 333 million new cases of STDs are reported in the world each year. The cost for healthcare to treat STDs is about 17 billion each year in the United States alone. Anyone who begins a intimate relationship believing it can't happen to me risk his or her health and possibly their life. Okay, it is not unheard of for someone to die from an STD. Okay, and would you want that to be you? Would you want that to be on your epitaph? They were here for a good time, not a long time. How sad. It goes on to say that there are dozens of STDs, some mild and others lethal. Common STDs include syphilis, gonorrhea, pelvic inflammation disease, genital warts, genital herpes, chlamydia, and AIDS or HIV. A few STDs are particularly dangerous to women. Human papillomavirus, for example, the most common STD in the world, rarely causes symptoms in men, but can cause cervical cancer in women. About 99.7% of all cervical cancer cases are caused by this STD. In addition, women are much more likely than men to become infected with HIV through heterosexuals. Now, when it comes to HIV and AIDS in the heterosexual community, there's a couple reasons for that. Because in reality, HIV and AIDS is a queer disease. Okay, it started in the queer community, and it really belongs there only. But the only reason why it even got into the heterosexual community, pool, is because, for one, needles and people doing drugs, and then two, because these people, they lie, these queers, these homos, they lie and say that, oh, I'm only attracted to one gender, the same gender, when in reality they all go both ways. And so, a guy who has it, he can't find any men for the evening, so he goes after women. And so then he's shacking up with these different women. And then now the women have it. And now the women go back to their boyfriends, or the women go shack up with some other guy who they thought was straight. And now it's in the general population. But make no mistake, friend, STD, HIV is a queer disease. And if you see someone with it, then it's because they got it from somebody who was queer. And so they were doing something crazy. Going on, it says the best way to ensure you never get an STD is to abstain from intimacy before marriage and to marry someone who has also abstained. For longer discussions on STDs, see the accompanying expanded article. Unwanted pregnancies and abortion. Unwanted pregnancies are a huge problem today, especially among teenagers. The negative effects impact the mother, the child, and society in general. Yes. I was watching Coach Greg Adams, and he was saying, he was like, don't tell me that I, as a man, can't have an opinion on abortion when I'm the one who's paying the tax dollars to go, and so you can have it for free or whatever, or at a reduced rate. He's like, that's my money. I'm paying for that. So I'm going to have a say on who can have it. And I thought that was really good. This idea that men can't have a say on abortion in the first place is asinine. But yeah, especially when it's the taxpayers who are funding and giving money to Planned Parenthood, of course, anybody who's a taxpayer can have a voice in who can get it. So there's that. And so this is quite a bit. Let's go down to marital stability. Couples who remain chaste before marriage report greater satisfaction in their marriages than those who were intimately active before marriage. Their marriages are more stable and more fulfilling. Researchers have even found that couples who did not have the marriage building exercise before marriage report greater fulfillment after marriage than those who had it beforehand. Okay, and so this goes on a little bit more about teaching kids to be abstinent and things like that. But yes, friends, there is a litany of benefits to staying chaste, staying virginal. And if it's already too late for you, then just pick up where you are, okay, and just be celibate, from where you are. And you can't go back and change tomorrow. And as long as you repent and you ask for God to forgive you, then that's washed under the blood. And so don't even worry about that anymore. You just pick up where you can, and you just start today afresh. Even if you did something earlier today, you just repent and you walk forward, onward, seeking higher ground, pressing on to that mark of Christ. I'm like completely butchering the Bible verses in my mind. It's like, it's like you're putting away things from behind, and you're looking forward to things above, and you're seeking higher ground. It's also a hymn. So I think I'm mixing up the words from the hymn with the Bible verse. Anyways, just move forward. It's what I'm trying to say. Okay. You can't do anything about yesterday. So no matter what you did, just move forward, and you can make tomorrow a better day. And so there's that one about fornication. And so moving on to our next point. Our next point is no borrowing, okay, / debt, okay? And this is something that is not commonly talked about in a lot of churches, which makes sense because, a lot of people have debt, and a lot of pastors have debt, and, debt can make people feel very ashamed and embarrassed. And, people don't really even realize that having a lot of debt or having a lot of consumer debt is a sin. Because we are not to, just constantly be borrowing money from companies and people and things like that. That's not God's order for Christians. Okay. And my proof text for that is Proverbs 22:7 that says, the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. Okay. And so God wants us to be free. He does not want us to be servant to our lender. And that's exactly what you are. Okay. And when I say you, I mean me. Okay. I've mentioned it a few times over here before that Mario and I are on a debt free journey, which got a major setback because, like I said, we're having this baby. And so thankfully, we're not going to have it in the hospital. If everything goes well, that is, if I don't go into labor early and if he's okay, then I'm going to have the birth at home and I'm going to have a midwife come to my home and deliver my baby with me. But that is not free. Okay. Hospital births are wildly expensive, but a midwife is about $5,000 here in Virginia. And so we have to take that on. And so, we can't really focus on our old debt now because now we have to pay for the midwife. And that's kind of on a time crunch because they like for you to pay it in full before the baby comes. Okay. So I have like 10 weeks to pay. But anyways, and so yeah, friend, being in debt is not God's will. It's not ideal for us. We should be much better with our money. We should be much better stewards of what God gives us. And so we don't need to go into debt. We should just live within our means or below our means and buy things that we can afford. Okay. And so, but there is no shortage of good advice from the world also about being debt free, because of course, who would ever want to be in debt? And so, hold on, let me pull this up. So our next article. Oh, that's way too small. Let's fix that. And it says here, for many, being debt free is an ideal way to live. Here are 6 good reasons to. Okay. And so my mom, she's debt free. She got debt free maybe a few years ago, I think. I'm not sure. I think whenever she sold her house, she, got debt free. And then my dad, I think I've mentioned this just a few months ago, maybe going on a year now. He sold his house and now he's debt free. And I'm like, hey, I'm trying to get like y'all, like mother, like daughter. And so I was we're on our debt-free journey. And even though we have this minor hiccup, in the form of our son, we're still very much on track to being debt-free by the time we're 30. So that's 4 years for me and that's 5 years for Mario. And so we're very much on track for that, if not a little bit earlier, God willing. If Mario keeps progressing in his jobs and we can continue to keep our expenses low, then yeah, we'll be totally within striking distance of being debt free by 30. So that's very exciting. But yeah, and so being debt free has just been a goal of mine for a great big while. Not serious enough because I could have been debt free by now if I really tried. But anyways, going back to the article. The first reason that it gives is that it's increased savings. That's right, a debt-free lifestyle makes it easier to save. While it can be hard to become debt-free immediately, just lowering your interest rates on credit cards or auto loans can help you start saving. Those savings can go straight into your savings account or help you pay down debt even faster. More savings allows you to build an emergency fund, plan a fun trip, or even save for retirement, which most people don't do. Okay, so keep that in mind. Number 2 is relief from anxiety. What if you had no bills? For many Americans, that would be a welcome relief. There's anxiety in owing money. Knowing you're expected to pay large bills can be unsettling, especially if your budget is tight. When you are debt-free, you won't have to worry about making debt payments. Yes, so many people, they can hardly pay to live day to day, let alone go back and pay for yesterday. Okay. Um, and so people, they get into this debt and then it's like a trap, they're just getting by right now, paying their monthly things, their current water bill, their current phone bill, their current, rent payment. And they got to focus on going back and paying their student loans and the credit card and the Klarna and the Afterpay. It's not good, friend. And God doesn't want us to be anxious. He wants us to take on his burden, to take on his yoke, which is light. And there's enough anxiety that comes, there's enough problems that you're just going to have inherently in life. Okay. There is no need to just start adding more onto yourself unnecessarily, like debt. And so number 3 is more fun. Funding your dreams gets a whole lot easier when you have no debt. With the money you could otherwise be paying towards debt, you can create a fun fund. that allows you to enjoy life and do things like travel, eat out, or take up a new hobby without having to worry about debt. Okay. The freedom to choose. A debt free lifestyle lets you choose what you want to do with your money. That freedom can put a spring in your step because instead of pouring extra money into debt, you can spend the money on whatever you choose. Okay, so these two are very similar. Okay, you're more fun and the freedom to choose. So, most people would choose to have more fun. Number five is increased financial security. A debt free lifestyle can increase your financial security and mean that you don't have to worry about debt hanging over you if the unexpected happens. Things like a sudden job loss or unexpected medical issue are challenging in the best of circumstances. Uh, so, like I said, I used to be in Amway, and they would go to these meetings every week, and they would tell us that most Americans are four tires away from a financial catastrophe. Okay, so if all four of their tires were to burst at one time, they would not know what to do. They don't have any savings. Their cards are maxed out. They don't know they don't have any friends that can help them. They don't know what to do. Okay. So that's the scenario for most Americans, and that's a shame. Okay. And let it not be said of God's people. And so thankfully, we're working on that, trying to improve that area because being financially wise is very important of being a good steward. And lastly, increased security. When you have no debt, your credit score and other indicators of financial health, such as debt to income ratio, DTI, tend to be very good. This can lead to higher credit score and be useful in other ways. Landlords can use your credit score for rental in their rental applications. You may qualify for better mortgage rates if you're looking to buy a home, and you may be able to avoid paying deposits on utilities and cell phones. Yes, I'm sure most of you already know all of that, because most of you are older than me, if not all of you are older than me. And so, yeah, hopefully, the tide is turning. I keep hearing, through the grapevine that interest rates are going down on houses, even though that probably won't make the prices on houses go down because if interest rates go down, then a lot of more people are going to start flooding the market and wanting to buy houses because the interest rates are lower, and then they're going to shoot up in price. So the market probably is still not going to do very much that we want it to do. But you can be ready and in a prime position to snatch up a low interest rate if you're trying to buy a house, and especially if you have good credit. And a good way to have good credit is to have low debt or no debt. But I find it funny though that people, they'll pay off all their debt, or they'll pay off like a big debt that they had, like their car or something, and their credit score goes down. But that's just because they don't want you to be too debt free. Okay, they want you to pay your stuff, but they don't actually want you to be debt free. And so they want you to be tied to the system a little bit, not a lot, a little bit. So but just even having a mortgage, because like a mortgage is like reasonable debt. I don't think that would be considered like consumer debt and an improper use of your money, because who has just $400,000 lying around. Okay. So if you just have like your what is it, your house, or something like that, then, or like a credit card for emergencies or whatever, then you can keep at least one line of credit open, and therefore your credit score will stay high, and you'll be good in that area. Okay. And so there is that on the debt issue. And so moving right along, we are going to homeschooling. Okay. So why it's best to homeschool, and why the Bible talks about homeschool as what we should do as Christians, and why it's the best for us overall. Okay. Our verse for this is Deuteronomy 11:18 through 20, which says, "Therefore shall ye lay up these words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be frontlets between your eyes. And ye shall teach them your children, speaking of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt write them upon the doorpost of thine house and upon thy gates. So, friend, how in the world are you going to be able to teach your kids something when you sit down and when you walk and when you lie down and when you rise up if you're not homeschooling them? You're not going to be able to spend that much time with them if they're going off to the public school system. Okay. Because that's at least 8 hours. And that's if they don't do extracurricular things, if they're not in tennis or swim or marching band or FTC LA or whatever they got going on in schools now, if they're not in a Young Life, if they don't do any extracurricular activities or if they don't need any tutoring, if they're not doing well, then you have a minimum of 8 hours that are being sucked away from your child. And so, the Bible talks about, the parent being the teacher, and the student is not above his master. And so, you should want your kids to be like you. You should want to mold your children into the way that you are. And so how can you do that if you're not raising them? And that's really what's happening, is that these schools are the ones who are raising these kids a lot of the time. A lot of parents see school as pretty much free daycare, and they just dump their kids off and they just, expect the teacher to do everything. Now, I know that there are a lot of parents who aren't like that. A lot of parents understand what school is for. But even at the most fundamental level, just to send your kid off somewhere to have them be taught and educated on reading, writing, and arithmetic, that's your job. Why would you outsource, this fundamental part of parenting? You wouldn't outsource someone teaching your kid how to, you would. All the things I'm thinking of, you would do that because that's what people do. They outsource teaching their kid how to swim. They outsource teaching their kid a new instrument or whatever. I don't know. I guess teaching them how to say their name, I guess that's really fundamental. You wouldn't outsource that, but sure people do. But, you as the parent, it is your responsibility to raise your child and to teach them things and to mold them and who they're going to be. And so that is fundamentally and extremely important. And so that is not something that we should just be leaving in the hands of anybody, someone who just, I went to school for, 8 years and therefore I'm qualified. And it's like, qualified by who? Are you qualified by God? Parents are the qualified ones. And so here we have an article about the benefits of homeschooling. And this one, I might not be able to get it very big because it's pretty stretched out across the screen. That might be a little bit better for you guys. But so here it is. It's 11 benefits of homeschooling. And so number one, it says it's one-on-one teaching. This is the most significant benefit of homeschooling. Your child gets complete, undivided attention throughout the teaching phase. One-on-one teaching allows the child to receive individual attention, which is impossible in traditional classrooms, where the child often has to share the classroom with many other students with diverse needs. Therefore, children can ask questions without interruption, receive more comprehensive explanations, and feel confident expressing their concerns and struggles. This also allows for the teaching method to be tailored to the student's unique learning style so that they may understand concepts more quickly. Flexibility. Sending your child to a traditional school means rushing about every morning to get them ready and drop them off at school on time. In contrast, homeschooling allows parents and children to create schedules to keep them flexible. If you are busy in the morning, you can arrange to teach your child in the evening. Your schedule is entirely up to you to decide. If you choose online schooling, the benefits of the child's homeschooling structure is supported by teachers who can access it immediately. It also means you can finally take the family holiday without the guilt of racking up days absent or missing out on critical topics. Therefore, your child will never fall behind or miss out on their education as they would in traditional school. Number 3 is eliminate unnecessary competition among peers. While attending a traditional school allows a child to develop peer groups and teaches them to socialize, it can also birth unnecessary harmful competition. The race for grades can develop a negative attitude towards learning, and the immense pressure to perform can affect students' mental health and social values. Children can also experience intense cases of bullying and might develop trauma based on this, which can affect their confidence throughout their lives. Homeschooling eliminates this kind of intense negative pressure and lets children focus on their subjects rather than their grades. This allows them to develop an in-depth knowledge of their subjects and appreciation for them. Children can also develop healthy relationships and bonds with peers by engaging in extracurricular activities that supplement the social interaction they would have experienced in traditional school. And so this is, one of the very common things that people will say about homeschool that, oh, they're missing out on socialization, they're going to be weird and stuff like that. And it's like, it makes me laugh because this idea that all homeschool kids are weird, as if there's no weird kids in public school. I mean, are you serious? Like, yeah, if you're gonna homeschool your kids, they're gonna be socially awkward. Yeah, unlike half the kids at public school, right? They're all perfectly adjusted. And it really all depends on who your parents are and really just at the end of the day, who you are, as an individual. As you guys know, I'm very outgoing and bubbly, but my son, he might be very different. He might be more like Mario, his dad. And Mario, he's outgoing, but he definitely he likes his own personal space. He doesn't like talking to strangers, which I never met a stranger. And so, our son, he might be more like me, he might be more like his dad, or he could be somewhere in the middle. And whether or not he goes to public school or is homeschooled, it might not really affect that very greatly because that's just who he is. But, homeschool is the best because, whoever he's going to be, he's going to be able to flourish in his home environment. Number 4 is control over the matter. This Christopher person, a Cambridge student and Mensa member, says, I like to be taught how to think and not what to think. Homeschooling empowers you to teach your child according to your preferences, instilling confidence in your teaching methods. This also means you have greater control over which topics and content your child is exposed to. This increased control allows you to focus on specific methods of teaching or the subjects your child is weak in. Online homeschooling lessons will enable you to pick and choose what you wish to teach your child, thereby incorporating them into a larger teaching scheme. You can also fix the duration of your study to give core attention to areas that they are weak in. In homeschooling, the lessons you provide your child are tailor-made according to your vision and your knowledge of their personality, ensuring their education is personalized and engaging. Number 5 is saves time. Homeschooling is a notably efficient way of schooling, saving parents and children from mundane routines like assemblies and commute time. This allows for a better investment of time in actual learning and teaching, making the daily routine far more optimized. This will also give your child more time to develop other skills and interests that can benefit them in the long run and help them become well-balanced adults. So this is a big one. It doesn't give the times here, but we're all familiar with the 8-hour school day. Okay, most of us went to public school or even private school is an 8-hour school day. But you can really do a lot of homeschooling in like an hour or two. Depending on your child's age and what classes they're taking, that all kind of depends. But what a regular school day takes in 8 hours, you can often do in homeschool in like 2 hours, 3 hours, maybe at the most. But I think the average is maybe like 90 minutes a day, something like that, 120 minutes. It's much more streamlined and efficient when you homeschool your kid because you're not having to wrangle all the kids together. There's no that intermediate time where you're going to classes. Lunch is not really factored in. There's no recess that's factored in. Like this article says, there's no assemblies and commute time. And so the whole thing is just much more efficient. Number 6 is parent-child bonding. Homeschooling can strengthen the parent-child bond. Since the child's primary teachers are the parents, the child spends quality time with those who care most about them. Even in online schooling, parents will spend time helping their children with the online tutoring they receive, creating personal bonds that are positively nurtured throughout education. Education that fosters a personal touch and an emotional bond is the most humane way and creates well-rounded individuals. It saves students from becoming too mechanical and competition-oriented, unlike those who are put under immense pressure to perform and who thus detach themselves from everything around them to secure first in class. The extra free time provided by online schooling also offers more opportunities for parents to bond with their children through play and socialization. In this way, these children build a stronger connection with their parents, leading to a more open and trusting relationship, which is always a good thing, which is something that the system really does not want you to do because they want to completely tear down the parent and child relationship. So that way they can get in there and brainwash your kid and make them in their image versus you making your child in your image. Number 7 is the safe learning environment. Parents unsure about their child's safety in school would consider homeschooling an alternative. Students generally feel safe and comfortable in their homes, and with online schooling lessons, it keeps them from situations like bullying and opposing companies that may adversely affect or influence them. Even though these issues do not occur in every school, online homeschooling remains a better option for parents who worry about their child's safety. For those parents who worry that homeschooling will not provide enough challenges and adversity through which to grow, we say there are more than enough challenges that life will throw at your child, even while at home. Suppose you try to create a vibrant social life for your child through extracurricular activities, volunteering, play dates, and other activities. In that case, your child will naturally encounter challenging situations that encourage them to develop specific skills. And in all those scenarios, you'll be right there with them. So that way they can turn to you, which is, their security blanket, and you can help them as they navigate that versus being at school where you're not with them. Okay. Number 8 is less pressure on parents. It sounds surprising, but homeschooling can lessen some pressure on parents. On the one hand, homeschooling requires parents to be at home with the child and focus on their education, which can be time consuming. On the other hand, it lessens the unnecessary pressure put on parents to assist with deadline driven projects, tests, homework, assignments, and compulsory extramural activities such as career day. Daily homework submissions and weekly project deadlines invariably create pressure on parents who need to help their children with this work under time constraints. In this case of homeschooling, you can assist your children in creative projects, work at your convenience, and make the learning process creative and fun instead of pressurized. Working parents also have the convenience of opting for self-help online homeschooling lessons, which further reduce the pressure on them. Number 9 is focus on the child's talents. Traditional school requires students to focus only on their studies, academic ranking, and a limited assortment of extracurricular pursuits. This subdues a child's talents, and there may be no opportunity for that talent to be discovered or developed. Homeschooling allows students and parents to focus on and nurture the child's inherent talents. For instance, a musically oriented child can be given music classes at an hour convenient to them, as homeschooling offers a flexible schedule that is not as time consuming. This will widen the child's education and make it more progressive experience. Therefore, if children spend time finding their passion, they will also be more inclined to know what career path they want to pursue after school. Number 10 is increased personal interaction of introverted children. Another great benefit of homeschooling is that it offers the chance for introverted children to interact directly with their teachers. Traditional schooling methods often ignore the needs and questions of introverted children who may be too shy to speak up in class for fear of being ridiculed by others. In online schooling, the child is exposed to face-to-face teaching where they may not feel as shy or intimidated to speak up. This can increase their confidence in discussing their areas of doubt and thus gain a better understanding of the study subjects. And lastly, number 11 is address the diverse needs of children. Another crucial aspect of homeschooling is addressing the child's specific needs. Schools consist of students from different backgrounds with different educational needs. Sometimes children find it challenging to keep up in a large group environment because their unique learning style or needs. Homeschooling lets parents select the teaching methods that are most beneficial for their children. Both traditional schooling and homeschooling have advantages and disadvantages. The critical thing is consider is which education model is best suited for the child's unique needs. Every child is different and absorbs information differently at a different pace. Homeschooling allows parents to personalize the child's education to their unique needs. This helps instill a child's love for learning throughout their schooling career. If homeschooling is done correctly, it offers academic, safety, flexibility, and exposure advantages over traditional schooling. While some parents may be concerned about the need for more socialization and peer-to-peer engagement when homeschooling, many homeschooling families tend to enroll their children into sporting centers, eliminating the concern and allowing them to mingle with new friends rather than the same cohort consistently. So yes, friends, there's that when it comes to homeschooling. A lot of really good information there. Hold on. Okay. A lot of really good information there. And yeah, at the end of the day, this is just, what the Bible says that we should do, as parents. I have every intention of homeschooling. I look really forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I heard this quote on Instagram, and it was saying that, you shouldn't homeschool your kid because you just went to public school and you're not qualified. And it's like, so why would I take my kid to the same, facility or do the same program that made me ignorant and unqualified? I'm going to do what's best for them, and I'm going to, help them be smarter than me. And so I know that I lack in a lot of really fundamental areas, especially math. And so, being that I'm going to homeschool my kids, it's going to force me to reinforce my math. My first kid, second kid, third kid, however many kids we have, I'm going to have to teach them math, from scratch, from the beginning. And it's going to force me to get a much firmer, tighter grasp on my understanding of math and, how things work. And, there's, addition and subtraction and multiplication and division. But, as they get further along, I'm going to have to get further along because I'm going to have to help them, if not, explicitly teach them. Once they get to things like maybe algebra, I don't know exactly how much I'm going to be doing hands-on. I might just, give them a online curriculum, but I'll still have to be there and help them, and if they have any questions. And so I'll have to get at least a little bit familiarized, and that will do nothing but make me smarter as well. And so I'm looking really forward to homeschooling my kids, and even being better myself. My kids might learn foreign language, and I'll be there learning it with them. And so all these different things that are beneficial for both parties involved when it comes to homeschooling. So there's that. And okay, which one is this now? Let's see what we got here. Okay, this one is the benefits of giving unto your neighbor. Okay, and so let me pull up, because this one is not just a verse; it's kind of a passage. So let me pull up this passage so that we can look at this. I love this little story. I think it's so funny. Okay, Luke 11. All right, let's see here. All right. Okay, so this is the proof text for our next one, which is about giving to your neighbor. And here's this little story that Jesus gives, which I think is so funny and cute. And it says, and he said unto them, which of you shall have a friend, and shall go unto him at midnight, and say unto him, Friend, lend me 3 loaves, for a friend of mine is in his journey, is come to me, and I have nothing to set before him. And he from within shall answer and say, Trouble me not, the door is now shut, and my children are with me in bed. I cannot rise and give thee. I say unto you, though he will not rise and give him, because he is his friend, yet because of his importunity, he will rise and give him as many as he needeth. And I say unto you, ask and it shall be given you, seek and ye shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you. And so this is a story about how, as we as Christians, we need to, pray without ceasing. The Bible says that. But this is, a cute little story, a parable about how, we need to always, that we should be wanting to, help people. And, people shouldn't have to badger us like this guy, badgers his friend, like, hey, I need 3 loaves of bread. But even if we do, then people are more likely that they will help us if we continue to ask. And so so this article is about the benefit of giving and donating and being charitable. And so we as Christians, we should want to be charitable and we should want to go out of our way to help other people, whether or not it's the middle of the night or not. Okay. And so here is a few things that they mention about. And this one, I can't make this one a whole lot bigger either because it has a lot of long writing. But, oop, that's not what I want. Let's get just a little bit. Oop. Okay, I try to make it as big as I can, but okay. It says number 1, improved self-esteem and self-worth are health benefits of charitable giving. Donating is a selfless act. One of the major positive effects of donating money to charity is simply feeling good about giving. Being able to give back to those in need helps you achieve a greater sense of personal satisfaction and growth. It feels good to help others. Instead of putting money towards a gift someone may look at once and never use again, you can donate that money to charity and to a charity in need on your loved one's behalf, or send a symbolic gift. This leads to feelings of self-worth, knowing that you're offering much needed resources to a great cause for those in need. As an added benefit, you and your loved ones will both feel good about giving to others. Number 2 is positive moods and low depression rates due to the psychology of generosity. With positive self-esteem and self-worth comes a genuinely more optimistic mood and outlook on life, as even more health benefits of giving. Studies show that one of the benefits of giving back is its positive impact on the brain. These effects are similar to activities people usually associate with joy and happiness, such as eating, exercising, or affectionate gestures such as giving someone a hug. Different chemical reactions can lead to an ongoing pattern of improved mental health and well-being. Keep this in mind the next time you're having a bad day and need some uplifting to draw from. There are many advantages to helping others, as donating can help better someone else's life and lead to a healthier you. So another proof text would be that it is better to give than to receive. Okay? And that is kind of what this is talking about. Mentally, it's better to give than to receive. Longer life expectancy is a result of the psychology of giving to therapy. As much joy as the holiday season brings, it also brings with it a great deal of stress. It's no surprise that stress, depression, and anxiety can lead to a number of health issues: headaches, insomnia, high blood pressure, which affects 30% of all Americans. One of the reasons why you should donate to charity is that it acts as a way to de-stress your everyday life. With the simple act of charitable giving, not only are you assisting the world as a whole, but you receive the added benefit of a more relaxed holiday season. As an added bonus, some studies show that the gift of giving and unselfishness, as is an altruistic personality trait, is often aligned with people who live longer. And number 4 is the importance of charity in improving the world community. We're all trying to make the world a better place. The holidays are a time where we can appreciate the people and causes we hold dear. One person's charitable giving can help the greater good of humanity, positively impacting more people than a giver may ever comprehend their donation could reach. In many parts of the world, others are not so fortunate. Many of the benefits of donating to nonprofit organizations are the communities they build and nurture. Charitable communities help foster a happier and healthier world by improving the quality of life for those around us as a whole. Okay. And so, yes, friend, as cheesy as it sounds, we can help make the world a better place when we give to charity. Now, this is not just some carte blanche when it comes to all charities, because a lot of charities are hogwash, in my opinion. They're not legitimate. Like, I would never encourage you to give to one of these charities that's like, oh, buy this and we'll donate a portion of the proceeds to, an animal shelter, or, we'll do this to save the whales or something. I am vehemently against that because I don't think that a single red cent should ever be sent to help animals when there are people that are starving and dying. Um, so pretty much every single, not pretty much, but absolutely every single animal-based charity is a no-go for Mrs. Ginny. I want my money to help people. I want my money to help human beings, not animals who die and mean nothing. So there's that. And then when it comes to charities for people, I want to, support a charity that's not just giving out money indiscriminately to people. I want to help a charity that is actually trying to help better people. Like, I live across the street from a church, and like every day they give out food. And what I've noticed in the time that I've been living here, which is almost 2 years, is that a lot of the same faces show up in that line almost every day to get their box of food. And I think it's extremely unwise as a church, especially, to just indiscriminately hand out food to people without requiring them to show an application that they filled out this past week, or to show, a book they've read this past week, something where they're bettering themselves. Just handing out food to these beggars, every day. And like today I saw this lady and she had a box of donuts, like a carton of, not a carton, but like a case of donuts in her hand. And I'm like, they're giving out donuts? I mean, they should be only giving out like fruits and vegetables and meat and like beans and rice, like fundamental like staples, things like that, not donuts. I mean, why would you? People don't need that, like, why would you give out stuff people don't need and stuff to people who are not interested in working or not interested in bettering themselves? Like, so stuff like that, I guess I can do a whole stream on that. But when it comes to charities, be very, very mindful. And all the big charities get a big side eye from me too, because it's like, how did your charity get so big? These are supposed to be nonprofit organizations. What's up with that? So, I'm sure everybody here maybe has a charity that they like, and I have charities that I like. I really like Compassion. That's an organization that you adopt a child from overseas and you send them letters and they write you letters, and it's really cute, and it's like you financially are responsible for this child, and you're helping them. And I've actually had 2 Compassion children in my day. But going back to money, I was so bad with my money that I had to, give my Compassion child away, and it was horrible. So yes, unfortunate. But anyways, moving right along to our next point, our second to last point, which is washing your hands. Okay, so I thought this one was pretty on the nose, especially, being that everybody lived through 2020 and we got, just inundated with the talking point of washing your hands. But this is a point that comes from the Bible. Okay. So I wanted to do this, not because people don't know that washing your hands is good, but I wanted people to know that this is a principle that comes from the Bible. Okay. Like I said before, this is why England had their dark ages where people were like living in squalor and defecating in the streets, and why the Black Plague broke out. It's because they didn't have access to God's word to be knowledgeable about basic hygiene and cleanliness. And so pulling this up, excuse me, it's an article about the benefits of washing hands. So we don't need to spend a lot of time on this because, I'm sure we all understand the benefits of washing hands. But here it just says that a number of infectious diseases can be spread from one person to another by contaminated hands. These diseases include gastrointestinal infections, such as salmonellosis, and respiratory infections, such as influenza, cold, and COVID-19. Washing your hands properly with soap and water can help prevent the spread of germs like bacteria and viruses that cause these diseases. Some forms of gastrointestinal and respiratory infections can cause serious complications, especially for young children and the elderly, or for those with a weakened immune system. And so the verse that I'm using as a proof text for this point is Leviticus 15:18, that says, "And when he that hath an issue is cleansed of his issue, then he shall number to himself 7 days for his cleansing, and wash his clothes and bathe himself in running water, and shall be clean." Okay. And so this is a really big point because, the fact that the Bible says in running water, okay, and a lot of Europe for a long time, in those dark ages, they would wash in these standing tubs, these tubs of stagnant water. And, child mortality rates were really high and infection rates were super high because all these doctors would just go from one body that they were working on, wipe water, wet their hands and wipe their hands off in this bowl of stagnant water that everybody else was using, and then go to the next person. And all you're doing is just creating a petri dish of disease. Okay. But when we stray away from God's word, we stray away from the truth, and we stray away from good wisdom and knowledge and understanding. And that's why, countries like India today are backwards and very unpleasant to go to, because they don't have, God's word is not lifted up. God's word is not glorified in countries like that. And there's people defecating in the street. There's trash everywhere. It's very unsanitary, unclean. They have high childbirth mortality rates. And so this is problematic. And so, the Hinduism and Buddhism, they don't really stress, personal hygiene as much as they should. And so the proof is in the pudding. And so there's that one. And so, like I said, we're all very familiar with, washing your hands. But my main point for that was just to remind you that's not a miracle of modern science, discovering that washing your hands is good. Oh no, friend. At the top of every mountain that scientists think that they're climbing to the top of, there are fundamentalist Christians who are already there waiting on them. Okay. And so the Bible already beats everybody to the wisdom and knowledge of this world. And lastly, for this evening, we're going to be talking about rest. And so I have a video actually this time. I thought it would be fun to round out with a video. And this is a little 5-minute, almost 6-minute video from TED Ed, people who do TED Talks. And it's about the importance and the benefit of getting proper amounts of rest, and why, getting rest should not be seen as a waste of time or as buffer time in your day, like, oh, well, I have to get some sleep and then I can really get back to it working. It's like sleep is just as important as work. You are optimizing your work efforts if you are getting enough rest. And so this is how we're going to finish out the show. So here is our little video about rest.
It's 4 a.m. and the big test is in 8 hours, followed by a piano recital. You've been studying and playing for days, but you still don't feel ready for either. So what can you do? Well, you can drink another cup of coffee and spend the next few hours cramming and practicing. But believe it or not, you might be better off closing the books, putting away the music, and going to sleep. Sleep occupies nearly a third of our lives, but many of us give surprisingly little attention and care to it. This neglect is often the result of a major misunderstanding. Sleep isn't lost time, or just a way to rest when all our important work is done. Instead, it's a critical function during which your body balances and regulates its vital systems, affecting respiration and regulating everything from circulation to growth and immune response. That's great, but you can worry about all those things after this test, right? Well, not so fast. It turns out that sleep is also crucial for your brain, with 1/5 of your body's circulatory blood being channeled to it as you drift off. And what goes on in your brain while you sleep is an intensely active period of restructuring that's crucial for how our memory works. At first glance, our ability to remember things doesn't seem very impressive at all. 19th century psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus demonstrated that we normally forget 40% of new material within the first 20 minutes, a phenomenon known as the forgetting curve. But this loss can be prevented through memory consolidation, the process by which information is moved from our fleeting short-term memory to our more durable long-term memory. This consolidation occurs with the help of a major part of the brain, known as the hippocampus. Its role in long-term memory formation was demonstrated in the 1950s by Brenda Milner in her research with a patient known as HM. After having his hippocampus removed, HM's ability to form new short-term memories was damaged, but he was able to learn physical tasks through repetition. Due to the removal of his hippocampus, HM's ability to form long-term memories was also damaged. What this case revealed, among other things, was that the hippocampus was specifically involved in the consolidation of long-term declarative memory, such as the facts and concepts you need to remember for that test, rather than procedural memory, such as the finger movements you need to master for that recital. Milner's findings, along with work by Eric Kandel in the 90s, have given us our current model of how this consolidation process works. Sensory data is initially transcribed and temporarily recorded in the neurons as short-term memory. From there, it travels to the hippocampus, which strengthens and enhances the neurons in that cortical area. Thanks to the phenomenon of neuroplasticity, new synaptic buds are formed, allowing new connections between neurons and strengthening the neural network where the information will be returned as long-term memory. So why do we remember some things and not others? Well, there are a few ways to influence the extent and effectiveness of memory retention. For example, memories that are formed in times of heightened feeling or even stress will be better recorded due to the hippocampus's link with emotion. But one of the major factors contributing to memory consolidation is, you guessed it, a good night's sleep. Sleep is composed of 4 stages, the deepest of which are known as slow-wave sleep and rapid eye movement. EEG machines monitoring people during these stages have shown electrical impulses moving between the brainstem, hippocampus, thalamus, and cortex, which serve as relay stations of memory formation. And the different stages of sleep have been shown to help consolidate different types of memories. During the non-REM slow-wave sleep, declarative memory is encoded into a temporary store in the anterior part of the hippocampus. Through a continuing dialogue between the cortex and hippocampus, it is then repeatedly reactivated, driving its gradual redistribution to long-term storage in the cortex. REM sleep, on the other hand, with its similarity to waking brain activity, is associated with the consolidation of procedural memory. So based on the studies, going to sleep 3 hours after memorizing your formulas and 1 hour after practicing your scales would be the most ideal. So hopefully you can see now that skimping on sleep not only harms your long-term health, but actually makes it less likely that you'll retain all that knowledge and practice from the previous night. All of which just goes to affirm the wisdom of the phrase, sleep on it. When you think about all the internal restructuring and forming of new connections that occurs while you slumber, you could even say that proper sleep will have you waking up every morning with a new and improved brain, ready to face the challenges ahead.
Okay, back now that you can hear me. So I thought that video was really good and informative. And our verse for this point about rest is none other than Matthew 11:28, which says, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest," friend. And so the great rest giver is Jesus Christ. And the great rest that we really should be striving for is the rest in our salvation. Okay. This is the whole reason why the Sabbath was instituted, was to teach us that there are certain things in life that we cannot work for. Some things in life we have to rest for. And the number one thing being salvation. You cannot work your way to heaven. You cannot cram. You cannot, hustle and get your way into heaven. You have to rest. The same way the video is saying that, you think that if you stay up all night and work and practice, that you are going to do better, when in reality, you will actually be optimizing your efforts if you were to rest. And so, yes, friends, of course, we always got to bring it back to the main topic, which is salvation. Because there is not a day that goes by without some idiot on the internet trying to tell you how you have to work your way to heaven. And so I gotta end up, mentioning this every time, every chance I get, that salvation is not only free, but salvation is rest. Okay. Jesus compares salvation to rest on a few occasions, specifically, and then just though when you actually study the Sabbath throughout the Bible, and especially into the New Testament, then you'll find that wait, what? Hold on. You guys can't see me? Kat says, Mrs. Ginny, they might have a problem with that mini video shared. Policy violations. Can you guys not see me? Can you hear me? Put a 1 in the chat if you guys can hear me. Hold on. Uh-oh. Am I having some technical difficulties? Wait, did it end? Is the stream on? What just happened? Oh, good grief. Oh, okay. Can you guys hear me again? Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Oh, okay. Can you guys hear me again? All right. Okay. I think I don't know what that was. That must have been the video. Okay. I didn't realize that that Ted had, such a special grip on the video. Okay. So that's interesting. Okay. Okay, you guys can see me again. Okay, that was weird. Did it finish the video? Did you guys see all of the video, or did the video get cut off? Or once I took it down, did you guys hear anything that I said after the video? Or I don't even know. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, let me know. Am I still back? Did you guys hear anything that I said at the end? You saw the video. Okay. It showed all of the video, but when I took the video down and I came back up, did you guys see any of that? Let me see here. Let me pull it up on my phone. Okay. Okay, you saw a little bit. Okay, it ended right after the video. Okay. All right, I don't know what's going on. I guess this will be our first and last TED Talk video that we're going to be watching. Okay, I came up on the screen and then the screen went black. It cut off when you start speaking a few words. Okay, all right. So you note to self: do not use TED Ed videos. Okay, YouTube doesn't like that. But yeah, so basically what I was just saying is that I don't know if you guys caught the verse I was using, but so the verse for this point about rest is Matthew 11:28, which says, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Okay. And so rest in the Bible is often equated to salvation. Jesus specifically makes that connection a few times. And then when you actually study the Sabbath in the Bible through the Old and New Testament, then what you'll find is that the Sabbath is Jesus. The Sabbath is symbolic. The Sabbath is a physical representation of the symbolic truth of the fact that you can only rest in salvation. Okay, that's what I was saying. And so yes, there's no shortage of clowns and bozos who are trying to convince people that they have to work their way to heaven and that heaven is a salvation is a process and all these things. When in reality, it's very simple, and all you have to do is trust. And putting your trust on Jesus, it's very simple. You just put your faith on him, you just believe on him, and you will be saved. Okay. And so, yes. And I also drew the comparison between, you can't like hustle and strive to work your way to heaven. You can't grind your way to heaven, just the same way that you can't just infinitely work and struggle and hustle and grind into, learning everything you want to learn, because you have to take time to rest to let it sink in and let it, really get deep into your mind. And so, you have to accept the fact that there are certain things in life that you just have to rest for. Okay, you cannot work for everything. Some things you have to take a second and take a break from. And so, of course, that is symbolic of salvation. Okay, you cannot work your way to heaven. You cannot strive your way to heaven. You just have to sit back and accept what Christ did for you and let that sink down deep into your mind. Okay, so yes, friends, can't let a stream go by without reinforcing eternal security and the ease of salvation, because that is always under attack. And so, hey, always got to touch on it because it's important. And so, friends, I hope that you guys enjoyed this stream. I hope that you guys collected some good nuggets from the 7 points that we had. And so anybody who's coming in late, then our 7 points for this evening of laws of God that are for our own good are not drinking, not fornicating, not borrowing money, so not getting into debt, washing our hands, homeschooling, giving unto our neighbor, and lastly, resting. Okay. Jason says that there aren't any hookups to bypass what the Lord Jesus Christ has laid out. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what that means, but I think I know what you're saying. You're saying that, you can't shortcut your way to heaven. I believe that's what you're saying. So yeah, it's by Jesus alone. Jesus said that, I am the door, and, anyone who, tries to go any other way is a thief and a robber. And so, yes, friends, there are no hookups to bypass when it comes to getting into heaven. And so, yes, I hope that you guys enjoyed all this content and found it very beneficial, and I hope that it blessed you. And so before I go, I did not forget this time, I have our weekly bump date for you. And so, friends, we are in the home stretch. Oh, maybe I should get this way. Oh, wait. All right. Let me back up. So we are 29 weeks this week, friend. So I am in my final trimester. I have 11 weeks to go until, well, technically I'll be full term at 37 weeks. So at 37 weeks, I will be considered full term. And then if he were to come at 37 weeks, then he would be perfectly healthy and safe. But they want you to go to 40 weeks. That is the optimal time to give birth, is at 40 weeks. And so I have 11 weeks until I am fully cooked and fully ripe, and that he is good to go. He says that there's a whole person in there. That's wild. Yeah, isn't that crazy? And I really wish that, he was kind of awake or whatever, because he kicks a lot. Like, he moves a lot right now. In the beginning, I didn't feel him a lot, but now I feel him all the time. And I always tell my husband, I'm like, you have to like set your hand on my stomach and just leave it there, because he doesn't move all the time, but he moves enough. If you just wait and wait on him, then you'll feel him. But he always like moves his hand away too quickly, and then he misses the movement. But today we were laying on the couch. Oh, he's moving now. He hears me talking about him. He knows I'm talking about him, so he started getting up and doing stuff. But earlier today we were laying on the couch, and my husband laid his head on my stomach, and after a few minutes he was like, "Is that him moving?" And I said, yeah, you feel that? And he was like, yeah. And he's like kicking my head. And I said, yeah, you don't normally keep your hand on my stomach long enough to feel them, but now you feel them. And I noticed that like if I stand like this or if I like go like this, if I'm like resting on my stomach, then he'll move because I guess he's like, you know, you're encroaching in my space. I only have so much space. So if I'm like resting my arms on my stomach, then he'll move. So I wish I could catch it for you guys, but yeah, he's in there. He's jumping around and he's excited and he's I went to my midwife yesterday. Had my first consultation with her yesterday, and oh my goodness, he said my nephew looked like this 3 years ago. Now he curses at me. Well, tell your brother or sister to tighten up on their kid. But yeah, I went to my midwife yesterday, and so she put the Doppler on, and she was listening to his heartbeat, and she didn't weigh him, but on average, kids, babies at 29 weeks, they're about 3 pounds. So he's 3 pounds and he's about 16 inches long. And so he's pretty much as long as he's going to get. Like, he's not going to get much taller in my womb, but he is going to get a lot heavier. So at this point, he's kind of done growing lengthwise. Ideally, usually that's how it goes, but I guess he could get a couple more inches. But he's going to fill out. The last thing that really happens to a kid is that they get the fat on them. They get that weight on them. And their lungs fill out and their heart finishes doing stuff and their brain is still doing stuff. And so, yep, he's right now, his main goal is to just pack on the pounds, and I can feel it. I feel it because my stomach feels so heavy, but also I feel it because my appetite, I've just become so ravenous. Like, people always say, oh, you're eating for two. And I didn't really feel that until like 2 weeks ago. And all of a sudden, like 2 weeks ago, my appetite just totally ramped up. And now, like, whenever I eat a sandwich, I have to eat two at a time. I find myself drinking a lot more. My thirst has, drastically increased. Just my portion sizes. Like, I use these glass containers for our food, so that way we're not storing our food in plastic. And I used to not fill up the container all the way because I would say, this is too much food. I can't eat all of this in this 12 ounce or however many ounces, 32-ounce container of, this glass Tupperware. But now I have to fill it up all the way because I will eat that whole thing now. And like just before the stream started, I made tacos for dinner tonight and I had 3 tacos and normally I only have 2. And not only did I have 3, but I was ready for some more. I was ready to have 3 more tacos. And I was like, man, I gotta get ready for my stream. And so I literally have a plate of Pop-Tarts right here in front of me. I heated these up before the show thinking that I was going to eat them during the theme song. And then I just didn't get around to it. And so I've had this plate of Pop-Tarts sitting under my laptop the entire show. And so I'm going to enjoy these thoroughly as soon as I log off. But yeah, I'm just not always hungry, but when I get hungry, like I get really, really hungry and I could just eat and eat and eat. So yeah. But anyways, I love sharing that with you guys. I'm so excited to just, have you guys meet him and I get to hold him up on camera. You get to see him. It'll be so exciting. And this is a reminder. I don't have it in the description again, but my registry is uploaded. Beak, if you could copy my registry link and start putting it in the chat for each stream for me, I would really appreciate that. Beak or Catalea, whichever one of you is able to do that for me, I can send it to you. I know it's in one of these description boxes. I forget which video I put it in, but I can send it to you. And then if you could remember to put it in the chat for me, I would appreciate that. So anybody who is interested in donating to the registry can do that. Thankfully, we already have a good deal of stuff. This is our baby corner right here where we have like our diapers and wipes and clothes that we've collected so far. And so right below it is the car seat and stroller that my mother-in-law got. And so, I mean, I feel pretty ready overall. I feel pretty prepared, but yeah, right now we're just kind of hanging out, waiting for him to make his arrival. And whenever he gets here, he has no idea just how much love is out here waiting for him in real life and on YouTube. But okay, he says just email it to him. Okay, I'll be sure to do that. Thank you very much. And EAE says he eats 7 tacos. Well, you're a full-grown man, so okay. I'm eating like full-grown man levels of food now versus like my womanly portions that I used to have. And it was so funny. I mean, the show's over. If you're looking for more information about what I was talking about, that's all done. You can leave now. Right now, I'm just rambling. But I was talking to my husband just last night, and I was saying I like to watch these videos about like diet culture and like habit forming and how people overcome eating addiction. I find this stuff very interesting because I can understand being addicted to something, but I can't understand being addicted to food because I just don't like food that much. Like I would never I just can't. I would never be the kind of person to be addicted to food because I was telling my husband, I was like, I find eating to be a hassle usually, because it's inconvenient. You're always hungry at the worst times. You wake up, you're in a hurry, you have to run out the door, but you're hungry, so you have to take time to make something before you go, or you have to waste your money on eating out to get breakfast because you have to be somewhere, and so, I was saying that, and then, then you have to make lunch, and then, you have to either eat something out again, or you have to stop by home, or when you're home, you have to cook something, and then you have to find out what you want to eat for dinner, and then that's a whole thing, and it's every single day. And he was like, what kind of person says that eating is a hassle? And I said, it is. I mean, it honestly is. Like, eating is so in the way sometimes. And so, but anyways, so I was saying that yesterday. And Kat, she says it's not in the description. Yeah, it's not in this one. I don't know what video it's in, but I can message it to you too. And so both of you can have it. So Kat, if you would email me, then I can email you the link. So that way, whew, I'm so out of breath. Another symptom. I get out of breath very easily. I'm sure you guys have noticed as you hear me read, and then EAE, he says, C-sections are much safer than natural birth. That is the biggest crock. Who told you that? That is not true at all. Natural birth is way safer than a C-section. Oh my goodness. And he also says that he's only 5'9", but you're still an adult male. No, not 6'3" anyway. Anyways, the show is getting derailed. Friends, I hope that you guys have a great night, and I hope that you enjoyed the stream. And I will be talking to you again tomorrow on the Black Man Unfiltered channel, where I will be talking about great second fiddles of history. And what that means is, as a wife, I am to play second fiddle to my husband. I am to be the second banana. I am to be the co-pilot. And a lot of women, they take offense to that. They think, well, I can be the main person, and I can be the main character, and I don't need to play backseat to him. But that's our role. That's how it's supposed to be. And there's nothing wrong with that. And if anything, it's great. And so I'm going to be uplifting great second fiddles or great co-pilots throughout history. And by history, I mean the Bible. And we're going to be lifting up a few people who were really good examples of just playing your role in the back seat and how it all worked out for the best of everybody involved, like we should as wives. So be sure to click on that tomorrow and be tuned in, and you'll get some good edification. And all right, friends, that's all for this evening. I appreciate you. Please leave a like on your way out and leave a comment, and share the video with anyone that you think might enjoy it as well. And I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. Good night.